one of the key points in Revelation is that, the Greek word is that word there, apocalypsis, and that is a revealing, an unveiling of Jesus. So unlike what a lot of you would hear, that Revelation is concealing, it's hard, it's hidden, it's not really easy to uncover what God is wanting us to know. According to the word itself, in its literal sense, it's an unveiling and it's a revealing. That's why the book is called Revelation. And with that, we looked at the journey of Jesus in the midst of the churches. So we looked at how he moved amongst the churches to really evaluate and to give them a checkup, to find out what they were really up to. And we learned from that you can't really hide from God. I know it sounds obvious, but it needs to be stated that we can't hide from God. And we're stopping at chapter 3. We're not going into the rest of the chapters 4 to 22. And in those chapters, it just hails and proclaims the victory that we have in Jesus' second coming, that he's destroyed Satan and he's established his kingdom. And one of the songs that we've enjoyed, you heard Jethro share it last week in the summary on the video. He loves singing the song, "Devil, not today, not ever." And if there's ever a good summary of the book of Revelation, it is "Devil, not today, not ever."
Yes,
and that's how we need to embrace each day. And that's why the Bible even says, Psalms 118, this is the day that the Lord has made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it. We've studied the 7 churches. There's lessons that are to be learned from it. So let's look into that. Let's look at some of the practical lessons that we can learn from the 7 churches. And one of the first churches that we looked at was the church at Ephesus. And they were known to have lost their first love. And in that, one of the key scriptures was verse 4, chapter 2, where Jesus says to them, "Nevertheless, I have this against you, that you have left your first love." Now, I like what the Amplified Bible amplifies it, and it says that they lost the depth of love that you first had for me. Now, that's quite significant, because Jesus is saying you've lost that depth, that passion, that intimacy, that time that you had with me. You've lost that depth. And what was that? Loving God is the greatest commandment. You heard Diana say that last week in the video, in her summary, that the greatest commandment was to love the Lord God with all your heart, mind, soul, body, spirit, and everything that we have. And that is the fundamental pillar of Christianity. Because Christianity is about a relationship. Well, the bottom line is this. The difference between Christianity and other world religions, and that's what I've studied, is that other world religions talk about dogma, doctrine, philosophy. Yeah. But Christianity is about relationship with Jesus Christ. Yes. Christianity is about a person that was God, that walked upon this earth. My favorite saying is always from James Irwin. He says, what is the greatest event in mankind? Not when man walked on the moon, but when God walked on the earth. Yes. And that is what we have, access to this God through his son, Jesus Christ. So the fundamental pillar of Christianity is loving God. Amen. And Ephesus lost that. They lost it because their love had died, their love had grown cold. And this is where the degeneration takes place. In any relationship, in any situation, when the love goes cold, you lose your passion. And Ephesus lost the passion. Service to Christ became a ritual, a routine, a business. And as I explained in that message, it was what we call run sheet Christianity. It becomes tick boxes. Yes, do that. Right, let's pack up and let's go home. God bless you all. No, not that with you guys. I mean, that's what happens normally. And a really powerful example of that, sorry, I'm in Australia, example of that is the story of the Good Samaritan. The Levite and the priest were too busy with run sheet Christianity. Hey, I got to get to church. I got to get there on that, do this and do that. Yeah. And as a result, they missed out an opportunity to be Jesus Christ to that fallen, wounded traveler. And if their love for God was really sincere and genuine, then they would have stopped and they would have administered care and love to that person. So the question I want to ask you today is, how do you lose something? How do you lose something? Simply when you take your eyes off it. Yes. Now, when you are a new, that's it, yeah, start small. When you are a new parent, and your child starts to walk, and if you ever go out with them, your eyes are on that child every step of the way. You make sure that your eyes are on your kids at all times. And this is what happens. We begin to lose things when we take our eyes off it. Now, it's impossible to close your eyes and walk in a straight line. That's a fact. Did you know that? Yeah. You cannot close your eyes and walk in a straight line. Now, why is that important? That is important because we can only walk in a straight line when our eyes are fixed on something in front of us. Now, if you remember back in the day when you went for your driver's license, the driving school instructor would have told you, always focus in the middle of the road. Because what you focus on, you will drive towards that. And that's how it is. That's the reality of life. Because you can only walk in a straight line when your eyes are fixed on something. And if you go on a ship, when you get seasick, what they come and tell, focus your eyes on the horizon. In between. Yeah, we did that the other week, vomiting out, but that was the Laodicean church. We're looking at Ephesus here. But that's what it is. Focusing on a horizon, keeping your eyes on something that is fixed, something that is constant, something that does not move. And that's a good illustration, because when you're out in the ocean and everything is moving around, you're going to try and find that horizon if you're close to shore. That's easy to do. But to highlight that we will walk in circles without a fixed direction. Now, spiritually, there's a truth in that as well. And the writer of Hebrews chapter 12 verse 1 gives us, in a nutshell, how do we run this race of life with perseverance? Because Hebrews 12:1 goes on to say that laying aside every weight, every snare of sin that ensnares us and gets us tangled and it impedes us in running this race of life. How do we do that? Verse 2, he gives us the answer. Focusing our eyes on Jesus and looking away from all that will distract us. Focusing our eyes on Jesus. Yesterday, Jethro and I were playing a little bit of catch. And I was throwing the ball up high and he was closing his eyes, and lo and behold, he wasn't catching the ball. So I said to him, Jethro, you can't catch what you can't see. And this is what it is. Whatever sport you play, they always say, keep your eye on the... Hey, Colin, you've learned that? You've done coaching as well? Basic elements to teach your sons as well. Keep your eye on the ball. In cricket, you find that as well. When you're batting, you keep your eye on the ball. Stan is in hockey, and he's showing me the hockey movements there as well. You keep your eye on the ball, or the eye on the puck. You've got to keep your eye there, because you lose focus when you take your eye off the ball. And you see it. Even watching Jethro's under 6 and under 7 soccer games, and you wonder what the guys are doing. Are they there, scenic, looking at the scenery, and then the parents are like, whoa. And one of the things I said to Jethro, I sat in on and I said, Jethro, you're going there. All I want you to do is keep your eye on the ball. Wherever the ball goes. And you know what, I'm going to brag here. He ended up scoring so many goals last year because he was focused on the ball. Whereas the other kids were looking at the birds and looking at the clouds, So it worked in our favor. And that's a lesson for us that God is teaching us through this verse. That similarly, we are to fix our spiritual eyes on Jesus. On Jesus. How do we get away from the snares and the sin and all the things that entangle us in this world? By looking at Jesus. Because when we focus on Him, we're going to go towards Him. We're going to move towards Him.